non-drinkers will vote and decide instead. Okay, more importantly, we have the opportunity for maiden speeches. And today we look forward to receiving the opening speeches from Councillors Burns, Gillan, Patterson, Hamlin, Short and Winnie. And so I'll welcome to the throne Councillor Burns. Would you like to come up? And we've got a spot. I believe there's 10 minutes long.
Yes.
So thank you very much. The floor is yours, Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Good morning, Your Worship, Mayor Brown, Deputy Mayor Simpson, fellow councillors, supporting staff and all the guests in the room. I'm truly honoured to be here today. Apart from my amazing husband Brendan and my beautiful daughters Lucy and Charlie and my mum at home Pip, I have 12,038 people of East Auckland to thank for this wonderful opportunity. For trusting and believing that I will make a difference and be the voice that they deserve and what they need. My community will always be my anchor and my point when thinking and deliberating on local and regional decisions. It's never ever been about what I think, it's been about what's best for my community. Although I'm not a seasoned politician, I come from a family with strong thread of public service and leadership, business owners, lawyers and politicians. My great-great-grandfather, James McAndrew, whose statue stands proudly outside the Dunedin Museum, was a very successful businessman and served as a Member of Parliament from 1853 to 1887 and was sadly killed in a horse cart accident. And as the last superintendent of Otago Province, one article described him as a man whose energy and enthusiasm and vision livened up the little village of Dunedin. That resonates deeply for me because that's how I feel about my own village, Howick. I'm a business owner, I'm a wife, I'm a mum, I'm a sports coach, I'm a business mentor, I'm a community connector, and I've spent my life at 47 so far giving back. Volunteering, fundraising, sitting on PTAs, industry boards, supporting sports clubs, mentoring the youth, and advocating tirelessly for our local business owners. I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and get the hard work done, and my mission is always to make things happen. My journey started from the ground up, no university, no handouts. I had to work hard and stay determined and hold on to core values and beliefs. I care deeply about my community and its people, and through that I've built strong relationships and achieved real results along the way with the support and friendship of people like Adele White, who I was elected with 6 years ago on the Howick Local Board where all this journey began. Mental note, never ask someone what their 5-year plan is. To me, leadership isn't about titles, it's about service. It's about being accountable, visible, and someone that the community knows will show up. It's about bringing common sense to the table and making sure that our future generations thank us for that. My vision is simple for Auckland City, a city people not only want to live in, but that they love and feel incredibly proud of. Too often I hear people now say, I don't want to live here anymore, and that breaks my heart. We need a city where local decisions are made locally. We need a city that values our environment, our waterways, our beaches, our reserves, safety, tourism, and the community connection. A city that celebrates the unique character and diversity of every suburb, from Howick to Henderson, Franklin to the shore. We know blanket approaches and initiatives such as PC 120 will never work for our incredibly different communities and beautiful suburbs. For some it suits, and for some it will decimate not only the places that people love to and long to live, but even put more pressure on our ageing infrastructure and our environment. We must simplify how we communicate and how our people and how Aucklanders feel heard, understood and engaged, not frustrated and constantly excluded. We need to change the mantra of there is no point, nobody is listening. This role carries a huge responsibility. It is not about managing budgets. It's not just about managing budgets and debating policies and bylaws. It's about rebuilding the Aucklanders' trust with us. Without genuine connection and transparency, we cannot truly serve the people. We must stop and listen and respond with care, not knee-jerk reactions and constant excuses about lack of funding. I've been raised to believe you have to spend money to make money. If we want meaningful engagement for turnouts of elections and have your say events, we can't be investing 17 cents per person and expect real democracy. When only 15 to 28% of people in Auckland are turning out, democracy is broken. I'm a results-driven person who believes in communication, collaboration, and execution. I look forward to building strong and functional relationships, not just with my own board, but with all the ward boards, and with our local MPs, Simeon Brown, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, and Dr. Parmjit Palmer. We know that strong communities build strong cities. When a team is rowing in the same direction, we don't just get there, we get there together stronger. Some decisions ahead will be difficult, but we must always think long-term about what we're leaving behind for the future generations, and we cannot hand over a broken and dysfunctional city. When asked recently to catch up with Phil Wilson, I was told to take my top 3 priorities. My list quickly turned from 3 to about 400. And some for my community and many for the wider Auckland regions. And these are the key areas that I would like to focus on this term. Rates, reviewing the structure and framework of rates, specifically the AUGC. It's one of the biggest issues raised to all of us during the local election, and there are levers available to us, and I'd like to use them and bring it to the table to discuss. Community facilities for Flatbush and Ormiston. East Auckland has 180,000 residents. Flatbush and Ormiston is the fastest growing community and has waited over 20 years for a proper facility. It's actually been so long that the long-term plan was actually called the Long-Term Council Community Plan, LTCCP. It's time to deliver for those 45,000 people that have nothing, bring them together, and the bigger issue here is the pressure that it's putting on the additional facilities in the Howick ward. Sports clubs, supporting our large sports clubs such as the HPNC, many of which run on smell of an oily rag, and we need to strengthen partnerships, grants, and create safe, accessible, high-quality spaces with proper lighting, parking, and the facilities for these places to host national and international events. An active and healthy community is a happy one. Car parks. We need bold thinking and collaboration to create better parking solutions that can also generate passive income for council. Smart infrastructure like this will help both local tourism and the wider city flow with less cars on the road. Right now we have an amazing transport hub at Half Moon Bay, which is the Bucklands Beach Yacht Club, that no one can park at and get to reliably. Beaches, streams and coastlines. Protecting and monitoring properly these natural assets to ensure we don't lose them to poor infrastructure or intensification bad decisions. Future generations should be able to safely swim in their local beaches, not worrying about sewage overflow. Corporate lens on council assets. Applying commercial thinking to how we manage property, facilities and procurement. We should modernise our corporate sponsorship policy, which was last updated in 2014, and make it easier for local businesses to be part of local procurement, not just talk about it. Every park, bin, playground has potential for innovative revenue streams, and we need to think smartly about this. Tourism. East Auckland tourism deserves to be on the map. We have multiple beaches, golf courses, cycleways, temples, playgrounds, malls, and the beautiful nationwide and internationally known Howick Historical Village. We have a rich cultural history, just 35 minutes from the ferry, and we are not on the AT Fuller's map as a destination. All our ward tourism groups across Auckland should be directly funded and supported to deliver events and benchmarked tourism initiatives that showcase their unique strengths and attract tourism out to all of our suburbs. Lastly, core services. This is only 8 of the 400, remember. Core services and value for money. Ensuring that their core services are delivered regularly, not fortnightly, on time and within budget, so Aucklanders see results and value for their rates. Finally, thank you to everybody that believed in me, supported me, and even challenged me. Thank you. I'm here to represent with integrity, passion, and determination. I'll bring fresh thinking, fast execution, and real results where I can. I will cut through red tape, ask the questions why, and go through the excuses. Together, I want to make Auckland the most sensational, inspirational and celebrated city in the world. Thank you.
Terribly well inspired by the end of this. Councillor Gillan, please.
This is a 2 a.m. job, so we'll see how it goes. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko John Gillan aho, North Shore aho. First, I'd like to acknowledge those here today, governing body members, staff, members of the public, and those watching online. Mr Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and congratulations on your decisive victory this election. During the campaign, I met a lot of people who were supporting you because you had been shaking things up, particularly with the CCOs, which was long overdue, so well done. To the Deputy Mayor and my fellow councillors, congratulations on your elections and your re-elections. Congratulations also to all of the local board members around Auckland, especially to Danielle, Melanie, Paula, Janet, Tim, Raymond, Dave and Emma on the Kaipātiki local board, and to Trish, Scott, George, Gavin, Terence and Garth on the Devonport Takapuna local board. Both boards have been elected with a mixture of experienced members and fresh faces, both of which are really important for good governance. Great people on both boards, most of whom I know very well and I know will do a fantastic job this term. And I'll add that I'm very proud that for the second election in a row, our Shore Action team took out all 8 positions in Kaipātiki, which is no small feat. I'd like to sincerely thank all of the North Shore voters who supported me and to everyone I met on the campaign trail. I really appreciate the support and have already started work on how to deliver what I promised. I'd like to thank my family, Mandy, of course, who has supported me with, on this political journey and put up with late night and weekend meetings, and who supported me in my ambition to stand for councillor. Thank you also to my 2 daughters, Charlotte and Veronica. Thank you to everyone who helped with the different aspects of my campaign, delivering flyers, sign waving, putting up and taking down billboards. It was a huge effort, but I'd especially like to thank my parents, Grant and Kirsty, who literally hand-delivered my flyers to about half of the North Shore ward. I'd also like to thank my brother-in-law, Andy, who I'm sure still has nightmares of holding down 3-metre wooden hoardings in gale force winds. A bit about me. I love the North Shore. I was born in the North Shore Hospital, grew up on the shore, went to Takapuna Grammar School, and I'm now raising a young family in Beach Haven. Most of my extended family are around the North Shore, although Mandy's parents are in Pukekohe, so we're often down that way too. We have 2 daughters. One is 12 years old and recently went on a school technology trip to the USA. The other is a 3-year-old who was born with septo-optic dysplasia, so is fully blind and has developmental delays. I was first elected in 2007 to the Glenfield Community Board, part of North Shore City, and was chair for most of that term. Then in 2010, there was the Super City amalgamation, and I was elected to the Kaipātiki local board and have been a member since then, until now. I became chair of the board in 2018 and believe I have led a cohesive, stable and strong local board that wasn't afraid to stand up for the community and push back on inappropriate policies and decisions. 2 of the things that I did when I first became chair were to open all workshops to the public, which provided transparency and helped build confidence with the public, and something I'll be supporting at governing body. The other was to end ratepayer-funded meals. It's just so unnecessary for the ratepayer to be paying for elected members to eat. And this is something that I'll be encouraging the governing body to adopt, as it's still costing an average of $30,000 each year to feed councillors, and then even more so for the rest of council. My non-political background is as a technical writer, and I look forward to bringing my skills to the governing body's resolutions, which have at times been unclear and confusing not only to the public, but also to council staff trying to interpret them later. One example from last term is when the governing body cut 30% of all rubbish bins, public rubbish bins, and yet the resolution doesn't mention rubbish bins at all. Instead, it's included an attachment as a possible option to save money, but never directly approved. These important details need to be brought through from the reports and attachments into the resolutions as much as possible to increase transparency and so that elected members can be held to account for the decisions they make, particularly controversial ones. Over my time on the local board, I've become increasingly frustrated by some of the decisions made at the regional level, and these then have adverse consequences on the community front line. And this is one of the reasons I stood for council this time. A big concern is fairer funding for local boards, which can be made to work, but currently the current formula and the pool of funding that is fed into the formula aren't right. The main problem with the model is that it no longer takes into account existing assets and the cost of renewing or maintaining them. Next financial year, 8 local boards will be in a far worse position under fairer funding than they were previously, including the Devonport Takapuna Local Board, which is $500,000 down, possibly more. They've been considering cuts to library hours, community groups, reducing maintenance levels, selling public assets or letting them run down. The Kaipātiki Local Board initially benefited with an increase in OPEX. However, much of that is now being clawed back through cost increases, and their CapEx is being capped, so over time we'll be in a similar situation. The public did not find this acceptable when the North Shore pays around $200 million in rates each year, and these cuts affect the most frontline assets and services. However, I'm confident that we can work together to find a solution to get these local boards through to the next long-term plan with their budgets intact, and then permanently fix the formula. I also want to ensure that specific budgets that have been deferred in previous LTPs are not re-deferred just as we catch up to them, including Kaipātiki's Ollie project at the Birkenhead War Memorial Park, which we're still waiting for, Stage 3 of the Beach Haven Coastal Walkway, and the budget for fixing Lake Road between Takapuna and Devonport. And speaking of Lake Road, this is a top priority for many people in my ward. When I was door knocking in the election, this was often what people wanted to be fixed or lamented that they could not possibly be fixed, that they'd given up hope. And that's not surprising because options were consulted on almost 10 years ago, but because at that time AT and the local board could not agree on a way forward, the budget was pushed out. We're about to finally catch up to that budget with transport decision making set to come in-house, we're in a good position to finally fix Lake Road. I know that the 2023 storms are still vivid in our minds. There are many locations across Auckland that still need sizable investment to prevent another tragedy. The Milford area and wider Wairau catchment is a high priority for me, and I know for Councillor Hills as well. Not only were their lives lost, but many people went through frightening and difficult experiences at the time that were compounded later by the stress of insurance claims and buyouts, including family members of mine whose home was severely flooded on Knoll Road and later bought out and has since been demolished. Currently, only stage 1 of a solution is funded, which is for a wetland storage area at AF Thomas Park that is projected to reduce flooding in Milford by 1/3 in a similar storm situation. I'm heartened, though, that possible options are under discussion to be able to fully fund stages 2 and 3. And I'll take this opportunity to encourage everyone to have their say on the future of the recreational part of AF Thomas Park, which is open for consultation now. We also need to increase preventative maintenance of our stormwater infrastructure across Auckland, including keeping channels and streams clear of rubbish and increasing the frequency of sucking out roadside catch pits, many of which are only cleared out twice a year. In conjunction with this, street sweeping also needs to be increased from the current 3-monthly schedule, particularly for roads with a lot of street trees that drop leaves and roads that have been downgraded to loose chip seal. Now, chip seal is a topic that I've been speaking out on for many years. I absolutely oppose the intentional downgrading of all of our suburban roads to loose, poor quality chip seal that has been happening routinely now for many years. I don't believe that Auckland Council has ever asked the public if they are happy to save costs by downgrading our roads. Yet since at least 2014, Auckland Transport has been implementing a policy to downgrade all suburban roads to chip seal where they carry less than 10,000 vehicles per day. That is virtually all neighbourhood roads apart from arterial routes. Often the surface chips are not pre-coated in bitumen, so the chips do not stay stuck down, and as they are often a smaller size than in the past, these loose stones are spread more easily and get everywhere. Instead of fully steamrolling the roads, the chips are left for passing cars to complete the job, and the public hate it. Even after several sweeps of the road, loose chips are spread everywhere for months and in some cases for years, causing problems for residents, safety issues for pedestrians, cyclists and prams, damage to vehicle brakes and tyres, danger when mowing the berm as they flick everywhere, and damage to carpets and wooden floors when they're trampled into the house. I will be pushing for this policy to be reassessed and for the public to be asked their view once this transport comes back into council. Another community concern across Auckland right now is Plan Change 120 and the radical changes proposed for our neighbourhoods in order to accommodate the government foisting unrealistic capacity onto Auckland. And all without any consideration of existing infrastructure constraints. And by infrastructure, I'm not just thinking of the usual 3 waters, electricity, roads, etc., which will all come under immense pressure, but also there's no scope to alleviate constraints on parks, community facilities, schools, cemeteries and car parks to cope with a massive increase in population that Plan Change 120 will allow. And because this projected development isn't being focused or staged in particular locations, I fear that we'll continue to see ad hoc developments popping up on every road as we've been seeing over the last few years, but on a much greater scale. Council will be forced to upgrade infrastructure everywhere to cope with this rather than in planned and staged areas. And because development contributions don't get tagged to the area where the development is located, in most cases, ratepayers will need to pick up the tab for the infrastructure to support the new developments. Another related aspect is that the last government stopped councils from requiring on-site car parks, and the current government hasn't reversed that. As the city intensifies, suburban roads are already clogging up with parked cars, causing safety issues and frustration. We need to put pressure on the government to change this before we intensify further. There's also been a lot of focus recently on the increase in heights and intensity along transport corridors and walkable catchments proposed in Plan Change 120, but there's also proposed to be a huge shift from single house zone and mixed suburban zone to mixed urban zone. So I encourage everyone to have your say on the consultation that is now open. Another matter I want to address in this term is compliance and enforcement, which I believe is underfunded and under-resourced. Yet this is a core service of council and must be adequately funded. Whether it's complaint about noise, dogs, pollution, dumping of rubbish or green waste, sediment runoff, illegal street trading or freedom camping, when a complaint is made by a member of the public, there is an expectation that it will be acted upon in a timely manner. However, often cases are triaged as low priority and not investigated and then closed. Some local boards, including Kaipātiki, are trialling funding local compliance officers, which is already seeing results. However, they shouldn't be having to fund this. The regional level of service needs to be increased to get on top of the current issues. One of my achievements on the local board is the investment into shade sails over playgrounds, both when new playgrounds are built, but also installing them over existing playgrounds. Shade sails are extremely important as they protect children from the sun, but also prevent the equipment from getting scorching hot and allow the playground to be used all year round. This also extends the life of the equipment and the public's investment. And while trees can be preferable in some instances, they do not shade the equipment during the middle of the day when the sun is at its highest point and shadows are at their smallest. I believe that shade sails should be rolled out over all playgrounds across Auckland, and I'm really disappointed that there's no, or it doesn't appear to be, that I can find no council sun smart policy ensuring that shade is a compulsory feature, as it is often the first thing to be removed or not even considered due to budget. This needs to change, and I want to see a regional sun smart policy. The park and facility maintenance contract comes up for renewal soon under Project 27, and before it's locked in for another 10 years, I want to make sure that standards are restored and that local boards have the power and funding to enable local procurement if they choose to, We also need to ensure that community buildings are well maintained, as I'm aware of several that have deteriorated in recent years and now need a huge amount of work and money and potentially may need to be demolished, and what appears to be a lack of maintenance. Almost at the end, regional park. This term I will be promoting the opportunity to create a fantastic new inner harbour headland regional park by combining 3 existing Birkenhead parks, Chelsea Estate Heritage Park, Carry Point Centennial Park and Chatswood Reserve. The land has beaches, native bush, open spaces, views over the Waitemata Harbour, historic power sites, ponds and dams, heritage buildings, and potential park ranger accommodation. It would also be closer and more accessible to North Shore and city residents and other regional parks, and as it is already public land, there would be no acquisition costs for council. It's a win-win for council, and I look forward to making the case to the governing body. I'm going to end there, although I could go on about congestion charging, fortnightly rubbish, and much more. There's lots I want to sink my teeth into this term. Once again, congratulations, everybody. Thank you for your time. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Gillan. Councillor Hamlin, please.
I ngā manga e ngā reo, i ngā rangatira mā, ngā manihiri, tēnā koutou katoa. No Otipoti hea, ko whau te kāinga i nāienei, ko takiwātanga me aorere tēnei ahau, ko Sarah Patterson Hamlin toku ingoa. Congratulations to all of my fellow councillors here on your election. I know that you all understand that it takes a village to get to this point. The mayor of my village is my husband Bernie, and its councillors include my sons, Lonan and Ezra, My campaign team, Margot Govers, Pooja Sundar, Sarah Wilson, Kay Thomas, Deborah Russell, Manushi Walters, and the rest of the Faux Labour team. My Avondale neighbours, ngā mātua me ngā kaiko o te whānau Pātiki. Excuse me. The Hamlins, the Ponsonby Baptist, Ross, and Rakutori whānau. The residents of Benview in Dingwall, Scotland. My goddaughters, Lucy and Rashmi. My siblings, Robin and Keith, their wives, Paula and Forrest, and my niece, Poppy. To all of them, I extend my heartfelt thanks for your encouragement and support, as well as to the many diverse communities of Faux. My parents did not live to see the beginning of my time in local government, but of course they were also a vital part of my journey towards it. They were immigrants from Zimbabwe, themselves the children of immigrants from the UK. They had moved to Dunedin only a few months before I came along, a surprise Portuguese at a challenging time. They were a Presbyterian minister and a maths teacher, so naturally highly valued the educational heritage of our new home. My time at the University of Otago was bolstered by an apprenticeship at the Otago Museum, where I learned about everything from the Union Steamship Company, the Great Southern Octopus, to mummification rituals and how to best feed a tarantula in front of a crowd. It's also where I met my now husband. From there, under the tutelage and mentorship of Professor Leah McIlvanney, and thanks to the William Georgetti Scholarship, I ended up at the University of Glasgow doing a PhD in literature. Scotland at that time was asking itself fundamental questions of governance and identity, and the first doors I ever knocked on for a political campaign were in pursuit of Scottish independence. For someone who loves politics, books, and dreich weather, it was a glorious time. It was at the conclusion of this PhD that I moved here to Auckland. It was Christmas 2016, and that means that the only version of Auckland I have ever lived in has been the supercity. I found a home here and a purpose within the Down syndrome community. They gave me a place where they themselves had so often been denied one, and I will never forget it. When my eldest child was 2 and I was pregnant with my second and final, I found myself in Avondale through a series of fortunate events. Immediately, it reminded me of Glasgow, a city that welcomes with open arms, even as it celebrates its own unique culture. These are places that accept you as part of their fabric if you've been there for 9 months or 9 generations. Faux more widely contains, I have found, the best and most neglected of our city. When the local board asked of our rangatahi last year, what do you aspire for youth to have in Aotearoa? The most common answer we received was chairs and tables in a room that we're allowed to sit in. When you speak with optimism of a faux pool one day in the future, you receive pitying looks that speak loudly of dreams deferred. My predecessor put the faux pool as her top priority in her maiden speech 3 years ago, and the first steps of this long-awaited process are now underway. I am also putting it on the top of my priorities so that I continue this aspiration, worked on and progressed slowly but surely by so many over so long, so that Mairohe, disadvantaged for decades as a result of its place on the fringes of former council boundaries, can at last begin to catch up. This is why another big concern for me this term will be retaining the Avondale racecourse for the public after its last race is held next year. This is an aspiration for me as a representative of Faux, but also as a member of this regional governing body. This historic piece of land has been providing our city with stormwater absorption and flood mitigation, a bird sanctuary for koaka or gulrits and dozens of other storm bird species, spaces for regional training and competition in rugby, soccer, cricket, running and kapahaka, among others. It provides a crucial space for the mental and physical health of residents in Avondale and far beyond, not to mention the beloved Sunday markets, thought to be the largest and oldest in Aotearoa. Should we miss the opportunity to retain this crucial but vulnerable asset, it is the Auckland region as a whole that will pay the price, far beyond Faux alone. And once it's gone forever. I have been elected to represent Faux, from Blockhouse Bay to Kelston, from New Windsor to New Lynn, but I also consider it my honour and duty to represent as best I can the needs and aspirations of Auckland's tangata whaikaha, disabled people. As an autistic person, I am accustomed to navigating a world that was not built for people like me, and that often does not understand either the challenges or the strengths that come with being born this way. As an autistic ADHD councillor, I may do things a little differently. I may make a little less eye contact. I might miss some social cues, need a little more structure, and take things a bit more literally. But there will be strengths I bring to this table as a result of this neurodiversity too. I won't ever knowingly lie. I will become fascinated with the topics I am tasked with and research them in exhaustive detail. From time to time, I will be able to see things in a different way, ask a new kind of question, and represent different ways of experiencing this city. In my professional life over the past 8 years, working for Upside Downs, the New Zealand Down Syndrome Association, and the Rokotodi Music Therapy Trust. I've been fortunate to work with hundreds of whānau also trying to navigate a world full of barriers, outdated stereotypes and misunderstanding for themselves or their loved ones. I've also applied for somewhere in the region of 600 grants, around 100 of those through Auckland Council. This has left me with some pretty strong opinions about the way we're currently serving our community organisations that you can expect to hear more about from me over the triennium. We will all experience disability at some point in our lives. From a temporary sprained ankle to life-limiting illness, there is no one who moves through this life entirely unimpaired. But our city doesn't have to compound those challenges. There are simple things we can do along the way, as well as the big and bold ones, to make Auckland a global leader in accessibility, for our visitors as well as our residents. Access maps, easy read documents, curb cuts, relaxed performances. And it's amazing how almost every effort made to consider access needs also ends up benefiting someone else. A pavement wide enough for a wheelchair is also wide enough for a pram. Lighting standards that allow someone with epilepsy, autism, or a brain injury to use a building has also been shown to boost productivity and reduce stress for neurotypical people. In my time on the local board, I've always tried to ask the questions that will ensure different needs are considered at the outset and not as an afterthought. Just as the rangatahi of Fo asked only for chairs and tables, so often in my mahi with disabled people and their whānau, the ask is often nothing more than to simply be considered. When a community is undervalued or ignored for so long, their aspirations can dwindle to a trickle. We owe Fo better than that, and we owe tangata whaikaha better than that. In my valedictory a few weeks ago at the Fo local board, I quoted one of my favourite lines in New Zealand music. It's from the Mutton Bird song Envy of Angels. You have to know what's under your feet so you can make things strong enough to take the weight of all the people who haven't been born. That's the weight we carry in local government, knowing at the same time that cities are organic things and they don't necessarily listen to us as they grow. The Super City has created a blossoming identity in Fo, and it continues to provide us with opportunities to make Auckland a city that sparkles like the Hauraki Gulf in summer, that truly works for its people, all of its people, whatever their needs or backgrounds. I am honoured to be a small part of Auckland's story. Kia ora.
Thank you for that. Councillor Short, please.
Damn, I feel short. Kam the Banini Māori and tēnā koutou katoa. What an absolute honour it is to stand here today and deliver my maiden speech, not just as a councillor, but as the representative of the Albany ward, which, let's be honest, is clearly the most beautiful ward in all of Auckland. No offence to the rest of you. To the people of Albany, thank you. Your faith, your trust, your votes, your texts at 11 p.m. about potholes, and your belief that a girl from Torbay could one day stand in this chamber. You didn't just elect me, you gave me the mandate for a better, more progressive, more functional Auckland, and I intend to deliver. But before I get into my story, let me just take a moment to acknowledge and congratulate my fellow councillors. To everyone sitting here, whether you're returning with battle scars and wisdom, or like me, wide-eyed and wondering if I'm supposed to press the green button or the red button, congratulations. You've knocked on doors, you've survived debates, and somehow convinced thousands of people to trust you with their rates money. That's no small feat. I also want to take a moment to thank my village. If there is one thing I've learned, is that it really does take a village to succeed in my role. My village are my backbone. They are people that I can lean on, and for that I am deeply grateful. To my husband, Alan, thank you. You keep pushing me to stay true to my values and encourage me to keep going, even when the hours are long and the challenges are steep. Your belief in me has been the foundation of every step I've taken in this journey. And to my beautiful daughters, Annalena and Chelsea, thank you for sharing me with our community and now our city. You too have shown such grace and strength, cheering me on and reminding me why this work matters. I hope I have made you proud. Now, as our Mayor Brownie so generously put it in PMN News, I'm apparently clever, smart, intelligent, and tough. High praise from a man who doesn't hand out compliments like lollies. Though, Mr. Mayor, if you had seen me before my first candidates meeting in 2019, where I was sobbing and begging my husband to take me home, you might have added emotionally volatile to the list. But here I am, tough. The obstacles, the hardships I faced along the way are what forged my resilience. I've never shared this journey publicly, but it shaped me into who I am today, and I wouldn't change a thing. Growing up, I don't think I ever said I wanted to be a politician. In fact, I don't think I knew anything about politics. However, when I actually sit back and think of the past and everything that I went through, I strongly believe that those decisions, experiences, and the people I've met along this journey have really shaped who I am today. So in my family, I am one of 8, 4 boys, 4 girls. I'm fondly known to my dad as 5/8. I am first generation Kiwi, and my father is originally from the UK, and my mother is from a tiny island in the South Pacific Ocean called Kiribati. School was never my strength. I showed up for lunch, my friends, and sport. Nothing else registered. No debate team, no prefect badge, no academic spark. I scraped level 2 and then was kindly asked to leave Long Bay College because my grades and attendance had seriously flatlined. At 17, I worked for my sister, fell into a relationship with a Kiribati boy, and chased the weekend like it was the only thing that mattered. Then at 18, I was pregnant with my first child. I had deeply disappointed my family. I had no job, no money, and bound by tradition was engaged to this Kiribati boy, relying on him entirely. The next 5 years were the darkest of my life, a relationship steeped in fear, manipulation, domestic violence, and isolation. Yet, from that darkness came one radiant light, my daughter, Annalena. Honestly. Born just 10 days after I turned 19. Annalena's name is quite unusual, and in fact, she's named after my 2 favourite players, Anna and Nina from the PlayStation game Tekken 6. Yeah, super millennial of me, I know. Throughout this time, I dipped in and out of university, had multiple random jobs, and tried to raise Annalena the best way I knew how. So during this time, a job came up to work for our local MP, Murray McCulley. I'd been following an MP called Paula Bennett, who I related to so much. She was a young solo mum, and she also started off her political career in McCulley's office in Browns Bay. I decided to apply and give it a go. I had honestly nothing else to lose. He interviewed me, and we spoke for a while, and I was offered the job. He gave me a chance. I knew this role I was given with McCulley was not one to waste. I found myself consumed in the world of central politics. I was determined to prove myself. I would work extremely long hours, I would read policies, do hours of research, and try to become the subject matter expert on anything that was needed. I loved my job. I was helping constituents with their issues, and I loved the politics that surrounded it. In 2019, I found I was losing the passion for the role. There was a new MP in place, and I felt the direction it was going didn't fit my values. I had this invaluable experience and knowledge gained from McCulley, and I had a deep love for helping our community. I had to think about what options I realistically had, and I desperately wanted to make a change. And one way I knew to achieve this was to run for the local board. This decision led to 6 years on the Hibiscus and Bays local board, 3 years as deputy chair, and 3 years as a member. It was while I was elected on the local board, raising my 2 girls, that I dived headfirst back into university, which was really intimidating for someone like me who never finished high school. I knew in order to serve our community and do the role justice, I needed to upskill and invest in my own education. I never thought I'd end up loving accountancy, finance, and governance. So if you were to tell me when I was 18, pregnant, no job, and no money, that I would become a frickin' councillor for the Albany ward, an accountant, and the first person of Kiribati descent to ever be elected into a government position in New Zealand history, I wouldn't have believed you. I stand here before you as proof that hard work, determination, and struggle, you can achieve great success. And more importantly, when you put in the mahi, the community will always stand with you too. And that the struggles you endure do not define you, they forge you. For my children, I want them to know that there are no boundaries and that education and hard work is the key to success. Many people have told me how difficult this role is, that it's long hours, hard work, thankless, and downright grueling. But to be honest, for me, nothing about this is intimidating or scary. I've survived the hardest parts life could throw at me. And this is the fun part. This is where I get to use all of my life experiences and academic studies to shape the future of our amazing city. I am so optimistic for the future of Auckland, a city, a community that has entrusted a once naive Kiribati girl from little old Torbay with a seat around this table. And I'll do my best to represent the views of all ethnicities, backgrounds, abilities, ages, and status. This table isn't the finish line, it's the starting line, and there is so much work that needs to be done. And I'm looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and cracking on with it. As someone who comes from financial struggles, I value every single dollar, a mindset I will apply to all council expenditure. As someone who is formally trained as an accountant, I will apply sound governance and financial rationale to all my decision making. As someone who has lived in Auckland their entire life, I am deeply vested in making the city a place that we're all proud to call our home for us and generations to come. Ka Mbasandapa o Ami Bell, te Māori, te Rai o te Tapa Moa. Thank you.
Thank you for that very much, Councillor Winnie. The bar is getting higher.
Kia ora. Ko Māua toku maunga, ko Taronga Moana toku awa, ko Huria toku marae, ko Ngāti Ranganui toku iwi, ko Maharai Winnie atu toku koru, ko Matthew Tutiranga Grayson Winnie atu toku ingoa. Tēnā koutou, hello. Firstly, thank you to my family, Mum, Dad, Georgia, Cam, James, Dave, Amanda, Jax, Luca, Aiden, my co-pilot, my friends, my supporters, my colleagues, Councillor Daniel Newman, thank you. My team, Brian, Glenn, Heather, Italia, Phyllis, Marshall, Raywin, Paparangi and Judy, Calvin, Brent, Jan, George, Felicity and Andrew, my amazing Manarewa Local Board Services team, Manoj, Sarah, Claire, Sopo, Justine, Rohan and Mel, Ken, Ane, Glenn, Rick, Rima, Roger, Danielle, Lincoln, Richie, David, Jeff, Fiona, Jordan, Brian Barnett, Carla, the Marlins, AFC, tennis, netball, squash, table tennis and rugby, Liz. The time you put into our community means we get a chance at rewriting the future that was set out for us, and I wouldn't be here without any of you. Thanks to the communities of Manarewa and Papakura and those who voted, supported and trusted me through the last 3 years, and didn't think I did too bad of a job and elected myself and the team in pretty emphatic fashion. It was a privilege to serve you all, and I will approach the next 3 years with the same tenacity and vigour which has brought a brighter future to my community. Congratulations to you, Your Worship, Mayor Wayne Brown, Deputy Mayor Leslie Simpson, and my fellow councillors, and warmest congratulations and welcome to my colleagues from local boardland, John, Bo, Victoria and Sarah. We make up 25% of the governing body, so while we're no strangers to council, each of us brings our own unique perspective and view on the world which can only benefit the City of Auckland, and I look forward to sharing our first 3 years as councillors together. I can proudly say that I finished my first 3 years on the local board successfully, and a lot of it was made possible by the conversations that took place here in these walls between you all, and for that I'm grateful. It's meant a fresh start for the youth and the community of my town. Now, I knew public service would be challenging, and we have certainly been served with a challenge. From Plan Change 78 to Plan Change 120, from seeing recent central government promises for 100,000 new homes to Auckland now needing to support 2 million. Can we accommodate this? Do we have enough parks and schools and sports fields? Do we have the space for more schools with the impending population growth that PC 120 insists that we provide for? Not only that, but dog attacks are destroying communities and keeping kids in fear just from walking to school. There's illegal dumping from those without a care or consideration for the environment and community they are polluting. I firmly believe we have to keep it weekly. There's kids huffing on laughing gas in quantities that's bringing tears to the hearts of the families it's destroying. That was it, that's my tears, everyone. Iwi ahika mana whenua are seeking their home be recognised in a system that's legislated to honour te tiriti, but changes so often it seems to forget tikanga. And that's just the last 8 weeks. So yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but I see here around me the experience, life and energy in a governing body who, by committing to the next 3 years of leadership through service, has been chosen to be the decision makers, not just for our communities today, but for the many millions who will call Auckland home in future years to come. But our people won't need us in time. That time is now. So, can we make it work? Are we destined to be another Sisyphus? Will we torment ourselves with the same burdens year after year, starting over and over again? Or will we finally knock the bugger off and cross the threshold with the vision that Auckland needs? We need to do as the Mayor stated in his opening term address, we have to ask the right questions for the problems we're trying to solve. If council was a business, would our shareholders be confident in the direction we're headed in? With the way we're eating ourselves, shareholders would be running, and we need to change this. Council's long gotten in the way of itself to try and move forward. We're complicating simpler outcomes. We clearly have some of the best people and minds across almost every industry wearing the emblem of Te Kaunihera o Tamaki Makaurau, but are we also blind to what our partners in this business are doing? How many times have contractors been called out to pick up illegal dumping, but the contract says they can only collect hard fill, not the loose litter they see in front of them, and in turn, they have to pass the job on to someone else. Both come with call-out costs, and both cost the ratepayer, and therefore ratepayers aren't seeing value in the hard-earned money that we collect. We're measuring once, cutting twice, and letting process trump logic. If we can't do the simple things now, what kind of future are we setting ourselves up for? It's not our fault, but this has led the central government to legislatively change how we should operate by getting back to basics. There's room for efficiency if we open our minds and consider that the right answer could in fact be what it's always been, the most simple answer. Cost efficiency, savings or optimisation shouldn't come as job cuts, they should come as a collective, connected approach to delivering on what we promise. An efficient service across all businesses built around a promise made every term to be as efficient as we can and treat every dollar like it's the last and make the best decisions we can in the interests of ratepayers. How can this be measured? Take a look at our communities and decide whether you think they are truly, truly happy. We must be fiscally responsible, and I applaud the Mayor and those involved in establishing the Future Fund scheme, but we aren't in the money business, we're in the smiles business. We have communities masking the hurt from effects of an economy we can't control, with rate rises decide for us in years gone by from projects approved in hope, but coming with a fiscal bottom line that says nope. Many are struggling and fewer are really happy with where they're headed. Bike hubs, community events, concerts, skate parks, playgrounds, sports fields, activations and pop-ups. Visit any of these and you'll see smiles on the faces and light in the hearts of our communities burning bright. But if council's looking at getting out of the business of facilities, will this diminish the number of spaces that have long been the creative spark of hope and life in our growing communities? And will we see the spark waver and potentially disappear in the future? We can't lose sight of how Plan Change 120 will feature in the future of these communities. So are we seeding clouds for a storm, or are we seeding the forest for a better tomorrow? It starts with us. I've always felt Auckland was great when it was trying to be the best Auckland it could be, not another London or New York, so we can't forget about the people of Auckland today and the future generations who are looking to us to guide them forward. So to you all, I ask that we listen more than we speak. We come prepared and we trust in ourselves and each other to be who the community need us to be. And to finish, I'm grateful and excited for the opportunities afforded me by the Mayor to join my colleagues on the Safety and Regulatory Committee, Community, leading the Māori Outcomes portfolio, the Domain Committee, and I look forward to working with all of the staff across the Council in achieving success in the mahi that lays ahead. Sorry. This next part was written by my grandfather. Ina aro atu ana. Dang it. Ina aro atu ana te oranga ki ngā mea pai. Ka rere te wairua ka taia ngā mea katoa. When our lives are attuned to good things, when the mind is clear and the spirit flows freely, all is possible. And je travaille maintenant au Council Municipal d'Auckland. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for those five very enriching speeches, and we certainly look forward to the input from those to join the rest of us here. I'll move, and it'll be seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that we receive these maiden speeches with great thanks too, actually. And I'll just call the five back again. We can have a photo with me and the Deputy Mayor before we carry on to the next thing. And there'll be a 5-minute break for anyone who needs to go to the loo. Okay? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. The contrary? Well, that's the first one we've got right. Thank you very much.